The Galactic Council chambers fell silent as the human representative stepped forward. Jihan Malik, barely 25 Earth years old, walked with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent her life buried in the dusty archives of a dozen civilizations. Her dark eyes swept across the assembled delegates, beings from 47 different worlds, each representing millennia of accumulated knowledge and culture. "So," hissed the Zephyrian ambassador, its serpentine form coiling with barely concealed disdain. "The humans send us a child, how typical." The Vorthak delegate, a towering crystalline entity that hummed with electromagnetic energy, leaned forward. "We requested an expert in xenoarchaeology and comparative history. What qualifications does this infant possess?" Jihan smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both humble and absolutely terrifying. The other species had learned to fear that particular human expression, though they couldn't quite understand why. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "I understand your concerns. Humans are relatively new to the galactic stage. Our recorded history spans only a few thousand years, while many of your civilizations boast millions. The Etherian representative, a being of pure energy contained within a translucent shell, flickered with what might have been amusement. "Indeed. We have been spacefaring for 3 million years. What could humanity possibly teach us about history?" "Well," Jihan said, pulling a small tablet from her satchel, "that depends on how you define history, doesn't it?" She activated the device and a holographic display materialized above it. The assembled delegates leaned forward, curious despite themselves. The image showed what appeared to be an ancient star chart, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and writhe before their eyes. "This," Jihan continued, "is a navigation chart. It details trade routes, diplomatic protocols, and military strategies. It's quite comprehensive, actually. It covers most of the known galaxy." The Zephyrian ambassador's vertical pupils dilated. "Impossible. No single document could contain such information. The computational requirements alone—" "Oh, you're absolutely right," Jihan agreed cheerfully. "This would be impossible to create with any known technology. That's because it wasn't created with technology at all." She touched the tablet again and the symbols on the chart began to glow. Suddenly the air in the chamber filled with a sound that made every delegate's skin crawl, a deep, resonant chanting that seemed to come from the very walls themselves. "Veltarketh Mori, Shenth Kalamorveth, Ilasarthane Korvik Malis," Jihan intoned, her voice taking on harmonics that no human throat should have been able to produce. The effect was instantaneous. Every alien in the chamber recoiled in terror. The Vorthak delegate's crystalline form began to fracture with stress, while the Etherian representative dimmed to almost nothing. The Zephyrian ambassador actually fainted, its massive form hitting the floor with a resounding crash. "Where did you learn that language?" the Etherian whispered, its voice barely audible. Jihan's smile widened. "Which one?" "That was classical Akthanai, what you call the silence tongue. The language of the predecessor empire that ruled the galaxy 8 million years ago, before they transcended to, well, wherever they went." She gestured to the holographic chart. "This isn't just a navigation aid, by the way. It's a historical record, a complete catalog of every civilization that existed during the Akthanai period, including detailed notes on their successors, their probable evolutionary paths, and their likely technological developments over the subsequent eons." The chamber remained deadly quiet. Finally, the senior galactic archivist, an ancient Mithurian who had lived for over 50,000 years, spoke in a voice filled with awe and terror. "The Akthanai texts were lost when their empire fell. Every trace was obliterated. The quantum cascade that destroyed their homeworld scattered their knowledge across dimensional barriers. It has been the greatest mystery of galactic history. How does a human child possess their sacred documents?" Jihan's expression grew thoughtful. "Oh, they weren't lost. Humans have been collecting them for quite some time. You see, there's something you need to understand about my species." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "We don't just study history. We remember it." She activated another function on her tablet. This time, the holographic display showed what appeared to be a massive underground complex, stretching for kilometers in all directions. The architecture was clearly human, but incorporated design elements from dozens of different civilizations. "The Terra Archive," she explained matter-of-factly, "located beneath the Sahara Desert. We've been building it for about 12,000 years, ever since we first achieved spaceflight. Every time we encounter a new civilization, we make it our business to learn everything we can about them. Not just their current culture, but their entire history, their myths, their legends, their darkest secrets. The Vorthak delegate, its form now stabilized but still showing stress fractures, managed to speak. That's impossible. The logistical requirements, the cultural infiltration necessary, would be completely impossible for any species that announces itself when it arrives, Jihan agreed. But humans have a particular talent for going unnoticed. We're very good at blending in, learning languages, adapting to local customs. We've been doing it on our own planet for millennia. She touched the tablet once more, and the display changed to show a series of photographs. The other delegates gasped as they recognized the images. Sacred sites, forbidden archives, lost temples from worlds across the galaxy. These are from the forbidden sanctuary of Zarian Prime, the Etherian breathed. No outsider has set foot there in 1,000,000 years. The whispering crypts of Veltanesh, added the Metherian archivist. The entrance was sealed with quantum locks that would take 10,000 years to break. The dead cities of Theta Centauri, whispered another delegate. The radiation levels there would kill any known life form in seconds. Jihan nodded at each identification. Humans are remarkably persistent, and we have a very long view of time. A few centuries to crack a quantum lock, a few decades to develop radiation immunity. That's just part of the job. She closed the tablet and slipped it back into her satchel. So to answer your original question, yes, I'm fluent in alien history. All of it. Every civilization that has ever existed in this galaxy. I can tell you their stories. Their rise, their golden age, their decline, their fall. I can recite their creation myths in their original languages, explain their political structures, analyze their military strategies. The silence stretched on for long minutes. Finally, the senior galactic archivist spoke. "What do you want?" he asked simply. Jihan's smile returned, gentle and terrifying. "Nothing you wouldn't be willing to give. We just want to be good galactic citizens. Share knowledge, promote understanding, contribute to the greater good." She paused. "And maybe help you avoid some of the mistakes your predecessors made." She gestured toward the empty space where the holographic chart had been. The Akthanai thought they were invincible too. They controlled 1,000 star systems, commanded technologies that could reshape reality itself. But they made one crucial error. Which was? The Etherian managed to ask. They stopped learning. Became convinced they knew everything worth knowing. Stopped paying attention to the small, seemingly insignificant species around them. Jihan's eyes glittered. They never noticed the quiet little mammals on the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Never bothered to study their rapid evolution, their uncanny adaptability, their absolutely terrifying capacity for pattern recognition and long-term planning. She turned to leave, then paused at the chamber entrance. The Terra Archive contains detailed records of every fallen galactic empire in history. We've identified 47 different extinction scenarios, mapped out the warning signs, cataloged the critical decision points where different choices might have led to survival instead of destruction. She looked back over her shoulder. We'd be happy to share that information. After all, we're all in this galaxy together. As Jihan walked away, her footsteps echoing in the profound silence she left behind, none of the assembled delegates dared to move. They were all thinking the same terrifying thought. If humans had been watching and learning for so long, collecting the secrets of every civilization that had ever existed, what else did they know? What other capabilities were they hiding behind that deceptively innocent facade? And perhaps most frightening of all, what were they planning to do with all that accumulated knowledge? In the end, the Galactic Council unanimously voted to grant humanity full membership status. It seemed like the prudent choice. After all, it's better to have such beings as allies than enemies. Though none of them could shake the feeling that the choice hadn't really been theirs to make at all.